So it's Dr. Betsy Greenleaf, and we're back with another episode of Body, Mind, Spirit. And today I'm so excited we'll be talking with Dr. Carol Lourie. Thank you, Carol, for being with us today.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So I know you are so incredibly passionate about women's issues and breast cancer, but how did you get involved? Like, why did this become kind of your passion?
Well, as you are very involved with women's health, it's my passion as it is yours. But breast cancer was always something that was out there. I knew about it, but it had never impacted me personally until one day, my dear friend, the phone rang and I thought it was a crank call. And then I realized she was hysterical on the other line. And she said to me, I have breast cancer. And those are the four words that change women's lives. I hear about the trauma of those four words all the time. And in that moment, I committed to going through I said, don't worry, you're not going to go through this alone. I'm going to go to every single appointment with you. 18 months, surgery, doctor's appointments, and at UCSF, that was a 5 or 6 hour day. Biopsy, radiation, chemotherapy infusions. And from the very beginning, I thought, I have skill sets here. I'm a naturopath, acupuncturist, homeopath. What can I do? And we started, initially it was, quote, experimenting. But one day we were in the oncology office and the doctor looked up from my friend's blood work and said to her, I don't know what you're doing, but I want all my patients to be doing it too, because you don't even look like you're sick. And her no anemia, her white cell count was great, and she felt great, she looked great. And that was the beginning of my thinking, breast cancer is a very serious illness. It's impacting in the Bay Area. We have an 11% increase than the rest of the United States, and 430,000 women are being diagnosed every year. And there's 3.8 million women within the last 5 years who have been diagnosed. So this is a very impactful illness. And I started focusing my clinical practice on providing these integrative tools to women as they go through treatment. And I believe we want to take the best of both worlds. We want to do the medical oncology, and you want to bring in what I have to offer.
And this is a little controversial, but I'm going to bring it up. I, as a physician, have always said, we know that when we x-ray things, that the radiation from x-ray can cause DNA damage that can potentially lead to cancer. So I've always been saying to myself, why are we irradiating our boobs every single year with mammograms? And I mean, we got to screen, but there's so many other different ways to screen, and the insurances are still stuck on like mammograms. And I'm like, I actually finally found a study that connected the radiation from the mammograms to directly causing cancer, but all they could say was that was 153 cases a year are directly related to mammograms, when there's like something like 3 billion mammograms that are performed a year. So I don't think anyone's going to really listen. But
a woman would have to be very off metabolically to have a mammogram directly cause cancer. There is no one cause of cancer unless you're exposed to Chernobyl or something like that. I mean, cancer is a very complex illness, as you know, and you have to have a lot of cell signaling and metabolic problems, and it takes a while for it to develop. It's not like one day you're fine, the next day all of a sudden you have cancer. It's a long process. So I don't quite understand how they're able to say, well, yes, these women got mammograms and therefore they have cancer. I don't understand. It doesn't make sense to me. I understand women's concerns about radiation exposure and mammograms, but it's a mixed bag. I mean, thermography depends. You have to be consistent where you go, and the machines need to be calibrated, and sometimes they aren't. So I think that at this point, self breast exams, and if you really are opposed to mammograms, doing thermography at the same place every year or so, and making sure that they do calibrate their equipment.
That's another interesting thing with the self breast exams. So the US task force has come out and said that they don't support breast exams or physicians doing breast exams.
I don't know who's on these task forces, because that's totally absurd. Why would they not want a woman to do a self breast exam? And why would a physician not want to do it? Makes no sense to me. I heard that and I thought, what's happening here? Why are they doing that? Don't listen to that, ladies. Do self breast exams.
That's what I tell patients. I say your breasts are with you all the time. You're more likely to find any kind of difference, changes in lumps and bumps, especially than a doctor that's checking once a year. And
Right.
unfortunately, I think with the U.S. task force, which I'm probably going to get in trouble for going against them and saying this, but it really comes down to money. And so what they were saying is that there's too many false positives when people do like false findings. People find lumps, and then that creates like, okay, now we got to do a mammogram. Then now we got to do a
disagree with that
biopsy.
100%. If a woman
Yeah.
does a self breast exam and feels something that is not normal for her, and as you said, she knows her breasts, it's a very safe thing to check it out, because the consequence of not checking it out is by the time it is diagnosed is it's become stage 2 or 3 or 4. So it's like, I don't agree with that. I think that's not a proactive healthcare approach.
Yeah. And my mom, when she was diagnosed with breast cancer, she found her own lump.
Mhm.
And interesting enough, it didn't show up on the mammogram, only showed up as a cyst on the ultrasound. And she was proactive. And for her, the decision was, I want it out because I don't know what it is and I just don't want to have to worry about it. And thank goodness for her, she had it out and it turned out it was, very, very early stage cancer.
Very good.
So, yeah. So I'm definitely pro, like, check those boobs out, and not just women, men too. I mean, we're seeing a
Yes,
rise.
men get breast cancer. Men do get breast cancer. And I have worked with a few men. It's not the group that I focus my approach on. They get it at a much less rate. And here's the deal: if men are listening, or if the wives are concerned about their men, husbands, which is they're not breaking down their hormones properly. And they usually tend to be obese, and they have other medical conditions such as diabetes. They might have a belly. They might have breasts, which are a sign that they have more estrogen and less testosterone in their body. And really, 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 this is an area where what you and I do excels. I mean, they need to work with a functional medicine doctor. They need to have a Dutch hormonal panel, radically change how they're eating and their lifestyle. And yes, they absolutely do get breast cancer, and it's important to get it medically checked. However, if you are in that system where you're out of balance and all you do is go through the medical treatment and don't do the other component, which is change your diet, get a Dutch panel, learn how to incorporate more healthy activity in your, remove toxins from your home, it doesn't do well for you. So you can't just treat the symptom, you have to treat the underlying driving factors. And that's one of the things I talk about a lot.
Yeah, I was going to ask you then, how is diet or household toxins play into this?
Okay, I'll tell a story. Now, this isn't about breast cancer, but it's an important story about how what we have in our home contributes to our health. So a young 35-year-old woman comes into my office, and she had a diagnosis of unexplained infertility, which I love that word, unexplained, because there's always an explanation for a medical illness. You just don't know what it is yet. You haven't done the right test. And I have a scent-free office, and she smelled of so much perfume. It was like walking through the perfume center of Macy's or Bloomingdale's. I mean, it was like I had to open the windows. And I said to her, so what's with you and scents? She goes, oh, I love scents. And I said, what's that mean? She had the plug-ins in the wall. She had those stick things that sit in oil. And this is the worst thing when she told me this. She sprayed her sofa with that spray, which supposedly removes odors. And as she's saying that, I'm like, the hair is standing up on the back of my head. So I said to her, so do me a favor, go home and gather every single thing that you use in your house and put it on the kitchen countertop and take a picture and send it to me. 29 items were on that picture. So she had to throw out her sofa because we couldn't detoxify it from that toxic chemicals. So let me explain to your listeners. When you use those chemicals, the spray on the sofa, the stuff in the wall, the sticks, the dryer sheets, the regular laundry detergent, the hand washing stuff, your body care products, how you wash your dishes, all of those products which aren't eco or organic have chemicals in there which are known to be hormone disruptors. And what that means is, let's just say estrogen is a hormone. It needs to be broken down and properly eliminated. And to do that, it has to go into like a parking spot where it can bind and be excreted. But these chemicals, they sort of mimic the parking spots. They mimic the estrogen, and they're floating around in the parking garage, and the parking spot goes, oh, you can sit here. And then when the real estrogen goes to bind, the spot's taken. So it turns into a non-healthy version of itself, and that's called estrogen dominance. And that can lead to lots of problems: polycystic ovarian syndrome, breast cancer, infertility, lots of problems. So when you remove those toxic chemicals from your home, and your home is the one place where you do have 100% control over what is in there, then the estrogen can go in the parking garage, and it finds a parking spot and is easily eliminated. So that is the deal with these toxins in our home. And anyway, 3 months after working with me, she was pregnant. She didn't have to do IVF. That she has 2 or 3 children now. I think she just had her 3rd baby. And it was a very easy solution to, quote, unexplained infertility. And she got her husband involved. Of course, the whole home is now eco. So when you think about this, you might want to go through your home and do like what I did with this wonderful woman, Dawn, grab everything, stick it on the countertop and see. Read the labels. When you get out of the shower, your pores are open. If you wrap your body in a towel that's been dried with a dryer sheet, your body is absorbing those dryer sheet chemicals. When you go to sleep and you're using regular over-the-counter laundry detergent, you are absorbing the chemicals in the sheets. So, and junk that you put on your face and your hair, it's intense. So start with a few things, or if you could be like this wonderful woman, she threw everything out and started over. And it was hundreds and hundreds of dollars of stuff that she didn't need to be buying. You don't need plugins. You don't need the stick things in oil. You open the windows.
This is such great advice, and I can't wait to come back and ask you some more after the break.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And if you're a woman who's been impacted by this illness, you welcome the focus and the opportunity to learn more. I'm Carol Lourie. I am a naturopath, acupuncturist, and homeopath, and the focus of my clinical practice in my online community is to provide women, such as yourself, with the natural and integrative tools so you can get through treatment with reduced side effects and then move on to recover your health and know that you are doing everything possible to prevent your current recurrence. I've developed an online group coaching program, Empowered Against Recurrence. And during the month of October, I'm offering this at a reduced fee because I want all of you to have these natural and integrative tools to make them part of your life. So in the middle of the night, when there's that little voice that shows up and says, what if it comes back? You know that you're doing everything possible, taking the medical oncology with the natural and integrative science-backed tools to reduce your risk of recurrence. You can learn all about my upcoming program by going to www.empoweredagainstrecurrence.com. I hope to see you at one of my free classes offered throughout the month of October. This is Carol Lourie signing off for now. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and there'll be more later. Take care, everyone.
So we're back and talking with Dr. Carol Lourie. So, oh my goodness, all the information that you gave is so amazing. This was something that as a traditional doctor, nobody had brought these things up to me. It's something like in my life, I've made changes in my own household, not realizing that I was really kind of just enveloping my whole family in all these toxic chemicals. So, and I love the environmental working group
Yeah, well,
website?
yes, that's, not 100%
Okay.
though. So we have colleagues which do a lot of this work. Uh,
Yeah.
Amy Carlson and Naomi Becker do a lot, and there's Teresa Barnes does a lot. So we have a lot of colleagues who are promoting eco products and an eco lifestyle.
So going back with patients and when someone first gets that diagnosis of breast cancer, what would be your recommendations of like, because the first thing is, oh my God, panic, the brain goes to, am I gonna die? Like, what should somebody do?
Take a deep breath and realize that the doctors will push you urgently. You have to have your biopsy tomorrow. We're going to schedule you for this. Take a breath and find an integrative practitioner. There are lots of us around to work with. Somebody who specializes in cancer. Because as a naturopath, I knew a little bit, but not the extent that what I know now. So find an integrative natural oncologist or someone who has really done a lot of work and study to understand the metabolic pathways and of cancer or breast cancer. I mean, I do breast and ovarian endometrial cancers, but there are colleagues of mine who do all different types of cancers. I like just working with women. So, and also realize it's not, unless it's in like pressing on your heart or something, it's not a medical surgical emergency that has to be handled today. So you do have a week or two. It took a while for this to develop, and there's a lot of things that you have to organize. And I created an online program. It's called thepathofbreastcancer.com. It has 3 modules, treatment, recovery, and preventing recurrence. And in module 1 for treatment, one of the things I talk about is putting together your support team. I mean, as women, we don't realize how many multitasking with, if you have children, their schedules, your schedule, the household running smoothly. I mean, you're going to need help with all of that. So I talk about how to create an Excel spreadsheet and then get one of your dear friends to take charge, and the food delivery and the child pickup, and it's a lot. So that takes a while to organize. You want to be able to go into your treatment with a calm and centered mindset, knowing I got this covered. So there's that organizational content, but then there's also how are you going to get through chemotherapy as healthy as possible, which is what I helped my friend do. And for that, we have intermittent fasting, we have the healing smoothie, there's certain supplements that you take, which you take throughout chemo, and you just stop taking 3 or 4 days before the infusion and after. So there's a lot that you can do, and that's just for treatment. And then in recovery, we want to help you recover your health from your treatments. Chemo and radiation disrupt your gut. How do you get that back? How do you develop a new mindset moving forward that breast cancer is not something to attack? You're not at war. Who are you at war with? Yourself? We want to really develop a more feminine perspective of, well, I can't always control what is in my path, but I can control and have a healthy attitude about now, okay, this is part of who I am. What do I have to do? What am I choosing to do for my lifestyle to adjust? And then I have a 6-week live group coaching program called Empowered Against Recurrence, in which I take women one-on-one within our community through the 6 steps of what do we all need to do to really know that you are doing everything to reduce your risk of recurrence.
This is great that you have these programs, because one of the things I'm hearing from so many of my patients that are in this situation is there's no guidance. It's just like you get the diagnosis and then it's like, okay, and you just kind of get thrown into the system, and there's not a lot of hand holding or guidance or just any instruction, and there's so many people that feel alone because of it.
One of
So
the things I asked my community, what's your number one concern since your diagnosis? And 80% said, I don't want it to come back. And that's why I developed this online group coaching program, because women said to me, as soon as I rang the bell, my oncologist disappeared. And
yeah.
I was given tamoxifen, aromatase inhibitor, and said, bye, we'll see you in 6 months. And I was left like, I don't feel well. I have no energy. I'm depressed. My body has changed. I'm having post-traumatic stress looking at all these changes. And here's the secret. My family thinks I should be back to normal and just pick up where I left off, that, I'm being lazy. And that really got me. And I said, okay, these women need a lot of support to even express to their families, okay, guys, I'm not in radiation anymore, but this is not over. It takes 3 to 6 months for the impact of radiation to leave your body. And if you don't do these integrative tools of certain supplements to reduce the oxidative stress, you can be left feeling really horrible for 10 years, which is, I've seen women in my practice like that. They felt horrible. They turned into what I call the couch potato syndrome. And there's no judgment. You don't feel well, you can't get off the couch. So it becomes this vicious cycle.
That's a good thing that we bring up is that there's almost like this PTSD with it after the diagnosis. You get through everything, you're good, but they're always in the back of your mind. Like you said, is it going to come back? My mom was diagnosed when she was 49 and she's now 73. And I know every time there's a health thing comes up, it's always like, is it back? Is it back? What is it now? So
That's real. I mean, that is very real. And but knowing that you have these tools and the skill set and these protocols, you're eating a certain way, you're taking certain supplements, you're doing positive movement, you've removed those 29 toxic, expensive products from your house, you've thrown out your sofa if you need to. It makes a really big difference. You can reduce your risk of recurrence, which is intense. The statistics of that are up to 13% of women within the first 5 years are going to have a recurrence. That's a lot. We can get those statistics better, which is what I'm here to help you with.
oh my goodness. And I also wanted to bring up what's the role of food in this because you mentioned diet earlier.
Cancer is a metabolic disease. So what that means in plain English is you have a lot of control over what happens with that metabolism. You can have a food and a diet approach of feeding the cancer, or you can have a food and nutrition approach of like, heck no, I'm not going to give you gas for your cancer gas tank. And this was discovered in 1918 by the German scientist Otto Warburg, who developed the Warburg approach or principle and won the Nobel Medicine Peace Prize for this in 1924. What he discovered is that cancer, given a choice between oxygen or glucose for the gas tank, so to speak, it chooses glucose, even though it gets much less ATP, like 42 grams less ATP of energy. And it has to work much harder to get there. So that's how important glucose is for cancer. And cancer then uses that glucose to grow and expand and call the neighbors and say, hey, come join me. We don't want cancer to have access to the gas tank like that. So cancer is a metabolic disease. Change what you put in your body, change the environment for the cancer. It doesn't have access to the cancer gas tank so much. And that makes a really big difference. That gives you empowerment, which is why the whole, the path of breast cancer is the umbrella, but my whole approach is empowered through treatment, empowered into recovery, and empowered against recurrence. Yes, I want to empower women.
That is wonderful. And then, what about support for the family too? Because, this is not just a one person disease. So
right, women are very involved. We're very involved with their families. And I think that as, when I support a woman and, when I do these live group coaching, I stay on after my teaching slides are over. I stay on for as long as women have questions. And so you get almost like one-to-one with me. And one of the things they ask is, my family thinks I'm normal. Yeah. And that's a very common problem. And I help them learn how to communicate. And I think it's a time for a family meeting and say, look, you can't see it, but, I just went through 18 months of rigorous treatment and my cells in my body are unhealthy and I'm working to getting them healthy, but I'm not the same person I was. So you need to understand, we need to develop family systems, like who's going to help with the dishes, who's going to help with the laundry, because a lot of the community support disappears, which is unfortunate. But so it's left with the family. The family is left with this. So how are we going to work with that? And that's what I help women with. Because as you said, it's not just the woman, it's the whole family.
I like the change in language I've been seeing a lot lately. It used to be like, I'm a breast cancer victim. And I like
Oh.
that people are turning that. So, yeah, what's your opinion on the language behind it?
Well, I hope not. The victim approach has to do with the war on breast cancer, and it's a battle or it's a fight. And I have a more feminine approach. First of all, I don't think there are times when we are a victim as children, but as adults, I don't think the victim approach is going to get us where we want to be in our lives. So I'm the center of my life, and I am going to do all I can with my limited means to really approach this disease and take it on myself. And that's, we have problems in life. We all have problems. How can we problem solve? And there is an aspect of this that is a problem solving moment. Okay, I'm craving sugar. I have to detox from sugar. What am I going to do? How am I going to do that? And I took myself off sugar of January last year. I mean, I don't eat a lot of sugar, but it sneaks in over the holidays, and I went, that's it. And I, ate a certain way. I took certain supplements. It took a month for those sugar cravings to go away. And then one morning I woke up and I went, oh, thank goodness. I'm not thinking about eating gluten-free XYZ all the time. I mean, so it takes a while. And I think that understanding that change doesn't happen, it's like the messages we get as women are when you see on television advertising, two advertisements. One is a woman has depression, and the other is she has bipolar illness. So the depression one is she's depressed, and the next moment she takes a pill, and then she's serving her family the picnic lunch. And the first time I saw that commercial, I'm like yelling at the TV, why is the woman serving the family? Why aren't they helping her? And then the next message from this ad was she has bipolar disorder. She's sitting in the house. The dishes are all over the place. The laundry is there, and she's not able to function. She takes a pill and she's doing the dishes. The house is clean. The beds are made. That really got my blood pressure up. What kind of messaging is that for women? Why is it that the man or her female partner or whatever is helping her? Why is it the woman is always depressed? I mean, what is the messaging about that? So yeah, you have a messy house, and I would be depressed too if I wasn't getting any help and it was a huge house and everybody had these expectations that I was the only person. So doing everything. So I think that it's important for women to stand up for themselves in their family and say, we're a family unit. Everybody needs to participate and pick a chore. And you need to be responsible for that, especially with teenagers. I mean, when you have little kids, it's not so. But your partner, whether it's a man or a woman, everybody needs to participate. And I think that's really important. It comes from self-esteem that we have for ourselves.
That is wonderful. And so you have these programs. Where can people find out more information about you?
So, well, you can use the contact me, Carol Lourie, and my name is spelled CarolLourie.com. That's my website. But my online group coaching program is called empoweredagainstrecurrence.com. And I'll be offering free classes about that throughout the month of October for the month of breast cancer.
Oh, that's great. And then you're constantly running these courses throughout
Yes,
the
I'm
year.
constantly running these courses every month. We have a new group starting.
Oh, that is wonderful. So everybody, I wanted to make sure you check out Carol's website. Also, when you get a chance, check out WYTV7.org. And don't forget to press our donate button, because every little bit that you're able to donate helps not only bring great programs like this one today, but also helps the community. And you can see all the different programs that we're involved in the community by going to that website. Don't forget to follow me on social media. Just look for Dr. Betsy Greenleaf, and there's a couple different versions of that. And also, don't forget to come back next week for another episode of Body, Mind, Spirit. But once again, before we go, Carol, thank you so much. Really quick, how often should women be checking their breasts?
Oh, if you're cycling once a month, once or twice, maybe before in the middle of the cycle and then after your cycle, but at least once a month, and do a very thorough exam because your fingers develop sensitivity to what's normal for you. And I felt a lot of little tumors in women's breasts. So I can understand all of a sudden, like, yeah, that doesn't feel right. So if you have that, do not listen to these other group of people who have decided that's ridiculous. You be assertive and say, this does not feel right for me. I need this evaluated. Don't let them say to you, oh, let's just watch and wait. I've had too many unfortunate stories of that. Get empowered and really stand up for yourself. Find a doctor who really will listen to you and support you in your health.
That is great. So everybody get off after watching this or listening to this, go examine your breasts. And also don't forget to tune in once again next week to Body, Mind, Spirit. Thank you, Carol, for being with us today.
Thank you so much.